Alright, hello once again. Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. As part of the Rankin Technical College AWD, or Application and Website Development Program, and in particular the AWD1111 Framework with Web Databases class, I'm doing a series of video presentations. I've already done presentations based on the book that we're using for the class. That book is ASP.NET MVC 5. It's the 5th edition by Adam Freeman, and it's an A-Press text. There are 27 chapters in the book, as you can see here. I have done video presentations on all 27 chapters. In addition, I've done several video presentations on other topics. I've got about 180 videos out there right now, and I'm going to create a couple more. All right. Chapter 1 in the book is just kind of one of those blow-off type of chapters. Chapter 2, we will go over a fairly simple example. Chapter 3, we'll talk about what MVC is. Chapter 4, all right, we'll go over the essential features of MVC. Chapter 5, we'll go over Razor. Chapter 6, we'll go over some tools. Chapters 7 through 13 are a realistic example of an actual ASP.NET MVC 5 application called the Sports Store application. All right, and we will be going over that as a class in a lot of depth and breadth of coverage. All right, so why am I telling you all this stuff? Well, much of this class is about how to use ASP.NET in conjunction with C# to build an online store, for lack of better words. All right, an online store will basically mean that we're going to have a database, all right, someplace or other in there. So when you create an ASP.NET project and it has a database, you have your choice. You can do what's called code first or what's called database first. All right, what's the difference? When you do code first, you've got full control over the code. You build classes that become database tables. All right. You can do all the operations from the code if you want to. All right. It says in this you need to create what are called POCO entities as the data models. POCO is an acronym for plain old CLR objects. Don't even worry about what it is. All right. If you don't do the database first, the code first, you can do the database first. Now, that would make sense if you've already got a database created for you, right? Wouldn't it make sense? So if you don't, you can modify the database manually and update the associated model when you do it this way. All right. So the author says their entity framework is able to create your classes based on tables and models from a relational database. Now, which one is better? That's not really a fair question. So they've got an example in here on how you can do this. I'm not going to run through a bit of it. Why? Because we're going to do our own examples. We're going to go through 2 tutorials. They're not short tutorials. The first one we'll do is based on, as it says there, the Entity Framework 6 with code first using Model View Controller 5. And the next one that we'll go over is database first. All right. So now I want you to realize a couple things. First of all, I'm going to try to keep these presentations, it's already 4.5 minutes, down to 20 minutes each. That's what I'm shooting for, is as close to 20 minutes as possible. All right. Second, notice it says for new development, we recommend ASP.NET Core Razor pages. In fact, they have a tutorial on that. So you might turn around and go, hey, Jeff, that's fine. Why are we going over this old stuff? It's not really old stuff. Most of the companies that utilize ASP.NET, at least around here from what I've been told, are still using MVC5. All right? So as it says, in this series of tutorials, we're going to learn how to build an ASP.NET MVC5 application that uses the Entity Framework 6 for data access. And we'll use code first. All right? It says for information on how to choose between these, it says see create a model. All right, so I could go to that, but it's going to have a lot of the same thing that we've already talked about. Okay, so I'm just going to get started. It says this series explains how to build an application for what's called Contoso University. It's a simple university website. As they mentioned, you can view and update student information, course information, and instructor information. So we're going to end up creating, this will be part of it, and this will be part of it. Okay? So as they mentioned here, this is what we'll do in this tutorial. We'll create an MVC5 web app. We'll work with site style. You'll learn, and I'll actually show you two different ways, regardless of what they show you in the tutorial here, to install the Entity Framework 6. We'll create a data model. We'll create a database context. We'll initialize the database with test data. All right. We'll set up the Entity Framework 6 to use what's called local DB. We'll create our own controller and our own views. Finally, we'll be able to view the database. Now, it says the prereq is Visual Studio 2017. Well, we're using 2019. There shouldn't be any kind of an issue. None with that. All right? So, I'm starting from the top here. It says Open Visual Studio. Let's do that first. Again, I'm running Visual Studio 2019. We'll set that up in class on the first day. All right? Now, and it says create a new project. We want to use the ASP.NET web app, and we want to call this Contoso University. That's going to look a little different because that's a 2017 screen. But what we're going to do is we're going to go under Create a New Project, and we're going to find, we're going to go down a ways and find ASP.NET Web Application .NET Framework. About 10, 12, whatever, down on there. Right there. And we're going to click Next. Now, a couple things here. First of all, we want to call this Contoso University. That'll be the name of our project. Now, the name of our solution, we're going to call this Code First. All right? And we're going to make sure that when we save this, let's see, on our desktop, we're going to have an ASP.NET folder. And underneath that ASP.NET folder, we're going to create two other folders. One that's called Code First, and one that is called Database First. All right, as we're going to be doing a Code First here, that's what I'm going to click on. And I'm going to select the folder, make sure that changes. It did. Click Create. All right, now it says here, select MVC, which is what we're going to do. All right. When we select this, notice there's nothing checked here. That's because right now it's assuming an empty template. When we click MVC, notice how the MVC is now checked. All right. I'm following their lead. Okay. Just so you know, I am following their lead. Right now, there's no authentication with this. We could come through there and change this. We'll talk about that in class. I'm not going to talk about it right now. But I think it says to leave it set to no authentication. For this tutorial, the web app doesn't require users to sign in, and it doesn't restrict access based on who is signed in. So it says select OK, but we don't do that. We select Create to create the project. It'll take a couple minutes. It'll spin around a little bit. But you will see what it is in just a couple minutes. All right, so as we come in here then, what you're going to notice is there's our project. Doesn't look like much right now, really isn't very much right now. But it's right here. Again, the solution is code first, and the project name is Contoso University. All right, since we set it up already as an MVC project, we can go over to Views, and under Home, we can go to Index and tell it to bring it up so we can see what our project looks like. This is the equivalent of running our project. Now this is kind of what you get out of the box from Microsoft when you create an ASP.NET MVC or Model View Controller project. Doesn't look like much. Application name, so we got some Bootstrap in here. There's a Jumbotron. All right, we've got a home page, an about page, which doesn't do much, and a contact page. But you'll notice we can go back and forth. And the other thing you should notice is if you look here, it is responsive. Again, doesn't look like much right now, but it's a start. All right, so it says, a few simple changes will set up the site menu, the layout, and the home page. Open our file, Views, Shared, Layout, and make the following changes. First, let's talk about what's in that file. So Views, Shared, Layout, and make the following changes. This right here, this file, is the one that created most everything that we have in there. I'm going to just quickly show you. Where it says application name, I'm going to change that to my name. I'm going to make a massive changes on here in just a second. But, all right, if I go back, I don't think my program's running anymore. I don't believe it is. Yeah, it is. Notice right there where it says application name when I refresh. Okay, that should be pretty obvious what I did. All right, but the author doesn't like the way this looks. And we're going to do a lot of copy and paste in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally, you can either click the copy icon or you can come in here and select it. I'm going to do that because it tends to work better. And I'm going to do a Control A and I'm going to get rid of that whole layout file and replace it with this. All right, I'm going to save. Since it's a .cshtml file, I can go back to my running program and just refresh. All right. Now, I don't like this. That doesn't look right to me. So it seems to me that I might have made a mistake in here. It's okay. We'll fix it. But we've got Contoso University in there. Let's double check. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Then it says in our home index, replace the contents of the file with this code. Okay. So we'll do that. All right. So let's go to our index. Okay, and I replaced what was there. Now, since this is also a .cshtml file, I can again go back to here, go back to my page, and run it. All right. So you can see it's starting to look a little better. Welcome to Contoso. Contoso. I don't like the fact that none of this stuff in here is showing. So I'm at 14.5 minutes. That gives me time to try to fix it. What should have come up, I believe, when we did this, if we take a look on here, it says your home page, yeah, that's fine. I want to get this done, and then that'll end this first part here. All right, so change each occurrence to Contoso, fine. Add menu entries. Well, I'm not sure. I'm just wondering if it's possible that when I copied this, not everything copied. So I'm going to click copy here, and I'm going to go back into my layout page, remove it, replace. And I'm looking here, I'm looking for something that for some reason, why that didn't show before, I don't know. So let's come in here, let's run this. And hopefully it's going to bring up our home page. It still isn't showing this stuff. It's got it here, so it's there, but that's not what we want. Might be too wide for the area that we have here. I'm not sure. All right. Still should be responsive, and you can see that it is. All right. Let's take, because I'm at 16.5 minutes already, take a couple minutes, very couple minutes. Here, I'm going to stop the run, and I want to explain to you quickly what we've done. All right? There's a lot of stuff in here you're not going to understand what it means, and that's okay. Well, we used Bootstrap in here. We changed to Contoso University, okay? Before we had a home page, we had an about page, and we had a contact page. Notice we kept the home, we kept the about, but we added a students page, a courses page, an instructors page, and a departments page. All right? And what this says right here is we want these to be called home, student, course. So in other words, when we go to these, what's going to happen? Okay? If we go to the about page, you're going to run a file called about. You go to the home page, you're going to run an index file, student page and index file, course page and index file, etc. All right, so we're going to go through what all that stuff means as we go on in here. All right, this index page, this is the one that we had at the beginning. What have we done? Well, we changed this in here to Contoso. All right, I don't even know if we changed anything that was in here. But if I jump back, take this from the top, this is what we're moving toward. Right now it doesn't look like it at all. Don't worry about it. All right? We want to be able to do this where we either, for instance, these are our students. If we click the Create New button, it'll look like this, except it'll say Create Student, and these will be empty. If we click the Edit button, we're going to get something that looks like this, the current student. It'll have their information where we can go in and make changes to it. If we click the Details button, it'll basically take this information that's here and show it to us. We can't change it, but we can look at it. If we click the Delete button, it'll look like this, but instead of Save, the button will say Delete. And it should come back afterwards and say, hey, do you want to delete this? All right. So we did all that. So we created the MVC app. We chose MVC. We set up the site style. We replaced the contents in our index.cs HTML that came with a page with this one, which again, more than anything else, changed this right here. All right. That's it for right now. In just a couple minutes, I'm going to come back with part 2. And we're going to install the Entity Framework 6. But before we do, let's see. I'm going to call it that. So, again, when I come back in just a couple minutes, we're going to pick it up right here on Install Entity Framework 6. I'll be back with that shortly.